Hey everybody, it's Meg and welcome to my first official pregnancy vlog. Wow, I'm pretty excited to be sharing this journey with you guys. So we're gonna get right to it. December 4th of 2012, we had our very first prenatal appointment and it was pretty ordinary. Like most, of course, they did a lot of lab work, so blood and urine, and I had a full-on pelvic exam. And that was pretty normal. One of the things my doctor and I did discuss, though, is that I am automatically considered high risk. I was kind of surprised by this news, but she explained it, and I guess it makes sense. But for those of us who have had bariatric services, which that just means weight loss surgery, we're automatically considered high risk when we become pregnant because for some women who have had bariatric services, it can be hard to make sure you're getting in the correct amount of calories to have a healthy and safe pregnancy. It's just for precaution. I'm a lap band patient if you weren't following me before this pregnancy announcement. So with lap band, they just release the fluid in the band so I have no restrictions, so that I am able to take in as much food as I would like and eat anything. I no longer have restriction on how much and what. So it won't be as much of a concern, but they do want to make sure that I stay healthy, my calories are good, and the baby is growing well. So, my doctor, my OB, she's amazing, and she was just like, look at it this way. You're going to see a perinatologist, but not because something's wrong with the baby, just because we want to make sure that you have a healthy and safe pregnancy. And I'll get to see my baby more. So I was really fine with that. So after we had that discussion, I asked about an ultrasound, and she had asked if I knew about how many weeks I thought I was, and I had told her that we weren't keeping track of my cycles, that I just kind of gotten lazy on that, and so I was thinking maybe 7 weeks. Since I wasn't too sure, she did want to go ahead and check, so we did get an ultrasound that day. However, she wanted to do a transvaginal, but that machine was being used in another part of the hospital. My physician, my OB, is an attending at a teaching hospital, so it can be very hard sometimes to get the right equipment. Normally she makes appointments for them, or she sends me to an other building that does diagnostics and digital imaging, so we get our ultrasounds pretty quick. So she said she was going to try over the abdomen. We knew it would be a little difficult because, one, I was so early in my pregnancy, and two, I just carry some extra weight in my midsection to begin with. So we kind of had these two things kind of going against us, but she definitely wanted to try. So my husband and I, Brent, we're super excited. We're going to see our baby, and she starts the sonogram, and there's this perfect little sac, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, okay. And I can't really make out a baby. She can kind of see a baby, but she sees no heartbeat. And she's like, I don't want to scare you. I really don't think anything's wrong. Nothing of your lab work or my examination show that there would be anything wrong with the baby. But I am going to go ahead and make an emergency appointment for you today to go over to the other facility that does the diagnostic and imaging immediately, just to check and make sure everything's good and to figure out exactly how far along you are. So we were like, okay, we'll get to see the baby. That's great. So she made that appointment for just a couple hours later. In between my first prenatal appointment and my ultrasound appointment, we went to go see my surgeon who did my lap band surgery because I had to get the fluid taken out. If you were following my lap band journey, you know that my last fill got me up to 6.25 cc's, and so he extracted all of the fluid, and I'm under 3 cc's now, so I have no restriction. I was afraid they would be a little disheartened or disappointed that we had this unexpected pregnancy, but they were so nice, and they realized that it just happened and it wasn't planned. And after we saw my surgeon and had the fluid taken out of my lap band, it was then time to go on to my ultrasound appointment on the other side of town. So there was lots of driving in doctor's offices on December 4th. We got to the appointment. I did drink 32 ounces of water an hour before our check-in time, as requested, so that we could do the ultrasound. I was a little concerned about that because I thought we were going to try and do a transvaginal, and those of you in the know understand that a transvaginal, the bladder has to be empty, and with over the abdomen early, the bladder needs to be full. So I was like, okay, they're going to try over the abdomen. We didn't have to wait very long. They knew that I was pregnant. They knew that I had a full bladder, so we waited maybe 10 minutes to see the ultrasound technician. It was a gentleman. I, to this day, still don't think he gave us his name. He was very just kind of like, this is my job. I'm not impressed. He just didn't seem to care. And it made me really upset. Well, it didn't make me really upset. I was disappointed in the way he acted, just because Brent and I were so excited to finally see our baby. But, you know, whatever, I was just going to let it go. And I asked him right away when we get back to the room. I understood, I thought I was going to be getting a transvaginal, and his response was, no, you're going to get a scan over the abdomen, and I can do this really well. I can probably get a better picture than your doctor. I was just like, okay, all right then, let's do this. So of course I like unzip my pants and pull him down so he can go over my abdomen, and he's pushing and pushing. I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable because I have a full bladder. He's not getting a good picture, and I knew he wouldn't. And then he's like, how much water did you really drink? I was like, I really drank 32 ounces as requested. He was like, well, I don't think it's enough. I'm going to get you 8 more ounces of water. So he leaves the room. He comes back with a cup. He's like, drink this. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, just please be back in 10 minutes because I already have to go to the bathroom really bad. He leaves, and 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by, and literally he's not in the room. And I'm just like, at this point, I went from being uncomfortable to a little like, ugh, I can't handle this, to this hurts. Like, it was hurting in my crotch even. Like, I couldn't even stand up straight. I couldn't lay down all the way. I needed to like stay hunched over because that's the only way that urine was not going to come out of me. Brent, my husband, I had him like walking the hall seeing if he could find somebody or see somebody to flag them down. The technician finally comes out. He saunters out and he's like, so are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. I'm about to bust. I have to pee. So we get started, and he's like, you drank all the water? And I'm like, I drank it before you were actually down the hallway. Like, yeah, it's gone. So he starts pushing and he's pushing, and I'm telling him I'm uncomfortable, this doesn't feel good, and he just keeps trying because he's not getting a good picture. And my frustration for this tech goes from like here to here. Like, I'm just kind of boiling at this point. It hurts. I don't feel good. This is becoming uncomfortable to painful, and you're still not getting a good image. And I'm telling him, I feel like I'm about to lose control of my bladder. I feel like I'm going to pee myself. And he was like, we don't want that. That's a mess. And I'm like, no crap, because I really don't feel like peeing my pants. And eventually I'm just like, are you getting a good picture? Is this working? Is the baby okay? He's like, I'm still trying to get a good image. Bah! So finally I'm just like, I'm sorry, I have to stop this. And whether this means that this appointment is over and we have to reschedule, that's fine with me, but I'm hurting. I have to go relieve myself. And he's like, okay, fine, and just hands me the towel to wipe off my own stomach. And I get up and I go to the bathroom. And apparently while I'm in the bathroom, he looks at my husband. He's like, this must be her first pregnancy. What does that have to do with it? I was so frustrated. I was so glad I didn't hear him say that, because I probably would have said something that was not kind. And so, whatever. I come out, I wash my hands, and he's like, we're going to have to do a transvaginal scan. Are you kidding me? No joke. I said that from the beginning. I thought that was the original plan. So he says that, and I'm just like, okay, may I have a female technician come in and perform the transvaginal scan? He was like, you can do that, or I can go ahead and perform it with a female tech sitting next to me. Nope. I was just like, no, actually, I would prefer a female to do the scan. He's like, okay, I'll have someone come in shortly, and he just leaves. I'm just like, this is supposed to, I was so upset. I kept on telling Brent, I'm like, this is supposed to be a happy moment. We're supposed to see our baby and be excited. And instead I'm just irritated. So the lady comes in maybe 5-10 minutes later. We didn't wait very long. And he must have said something to her, like we were not nice or something, because she came in with not a chip on her shoulder, but she was very quick about her answers and her questions. She didn't seem to really want to interact with us much. And at this point I was like, I don't really care. I just want to make sure this baby is okay. So as she's talking, she actually starts to lighten up, and she enjoys talking to us, and I'm liking her more. And by the middle of this scan, I mean, she's great. I love her. She's super friendly, super sweet, and has become involved and, you know, just asking nice questions. So she asked me if I had emptied my bladder before she came in, and I said I did. She said you will probably have to get up a couple more times during the scan with your bladder filling back up. And I said that I was fine with that. I prefer being able to be allowed to pee than not allowed to pee. And she just kind of smiled, and we got started, and she said, do you know how far along you are? And I said, we're thinking about 7 weeks, but we're not positive on that number. At one point, she kind of gets this quizzitive look on her face, and so does my husband, who has a great vantage point. I still can't see the screen, because she had said, once I have a great image of the baby, I'm going to turn it so you can see better, because we weren't in a room that had like the TV where you could watch what the technician was doing. So I was just like, okay. So she gets kind of quiet and inquisitive, and my husband's kind of like scrunching his brow and looking, and I'm like, I just start kind of like going through all the things in my brain, and are we okay? Like, is the baby okay? And she says, do you know what your beta level was? And I'm like, I don't. I knew all my lab work was fine, so I didn't ask for that number. And she's like, that's okay. I'm just going to guess that it was really high. And I said, well, that's good, right? Big higher numbers means a good pregnancy. And she's like, yes, it does, but I'm guessing that your numbers were really high. Okay. I'm not following her at all. Brent still looks very inquisitive, like he's really studying the screen. And she's like, okay, I have a baby. And she's like, oh, I see another sac. You see what? I'm sorry, what did you just say? And she's like, yep, we have 2 babies. There are 2 sacs. Are you kidding? And she turns the screen, and I'm like, we have what? Are you sure? Of course I can see it. I know it. There are 2 babies. There are twins. And I'm just like, I go into this like nervous, excited giggle, and it's just, I'm sure I sounded dumb. And at one point I'm like kind of crying, kind of laughing, and the tech is like, are you okay? And I'm like, I just don't know how I feel. I'm so shocked. This whole pregnancy, everything about it has been a shock, from finding out to her pregnant to this moment. Whoa. I look at Brent and I'm like, how did this happen? I don't understand. Like, we have 2 twins, what? And after it starts to slowly sink in, which it's still sinking in, but I then immediately go to, are they okay? She measures them both quickly, and she's like, your babies are actually measuring 6 weeks on the nose. So we were a week ahead. So we are on December 4th, we were 6 weeks pregnant with twins. 2. So then of course I was like, are we going to be able to see heartbeats? And she said, this small, it is very hard to get a heartbeat, but we are definitely going to try, because that's what you're here for. So we go over to baby B first, and couple 1-2 minutes, and she's got a heartbeat, and we go right to it, and she measures it, and baby B's heart rate was 141 beats per minute, so perfect. And she goes to baby A, and baby A was a little bit tougher. They didn't want to give us the heart, but she, after a couple of minutes, she gets right where she needs to, right in the center of the little embryo, and she measures the heart rate, and baby A's heart rate was 137 beats per minute, so perfect. So December 4th, we found out that we're having twins, and at that stage, on December 4th, we found out that we're having twins, and everything was great, and we were just kind of in this euphoric kind of shock. I think we floated out of the building. I think we just kept looking at each other saying, there's 2. We're having 2. There's twins. There's 2. Like, we just, what? So it was pretty magical. The only time I really cried during that appointment was when she got over to the heartbeats, and we couldn't hear the heartbeats, but we could see it flickering, and that is just a really kind of awe-inspiring moment, to see your baby's heartbeat for the first time, and knowing that they're at the earliest stages of life, and they're so delicate, and they don't even have legs. But they have this heart, and it's beating, and it's just the most amazing thing. So I got to see that times 2, and it was just beautiful. I was not prepared for that moment emotionally. I just, I was crying so hard. Currently, today is January 6th, I believe, Sunday, and I am 10 weeks and 5 days. We are guessing, we're just going off of the December 4th appointment. My weeks turn over on a Tuesday as of now. That may change. So I am 10 weeks and 5 days pregnant with twins. So that's it. That was my first prenatal appointment, and everything we found out on December 4th was pretty much on a very exciting day, and it's still soaking in. Again, I will do another video kind of bringing you up to speed on my symptoms in this pregnancy and what's been happening recently and why we had this scare, and more about my high-risk pregnancy and seeing a perinatalogist. So thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them below and I will answer them. And if you are not following me on Facebook, go find me. I'm Meg Dearest. A lot of you actually already know what's been going on with my pregnancy because I've been updating my statuses pretty regularly. So if you want to kind of be up to date with everything, follow me over there. Just let me know you're from YouTube. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you guys in a couple days. Bye!